I always thought I was careful. Every meeting planned, every message deleted, every lie rehearsed until it felt like the truth. But secrets have a way of surfacing, and mine started with something small, something I almost missed. A tiny red light in the corner of our bedroom. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. It was late, the room was dark, and Mark was already asleep beside me, his breath slow and steady. But as I turned my head, I saw it again. A faint glow blinking in the shadows near the dresser. My stomach twisted. I sat up carefully, moving as quietly as I could, and stepped toward it. The closer I got, the clearer it became. A small black device tucked against the back of a picture frame. A camera. My breath caught in my throat. My fingers trembled as I reached for it, gently pulling it free. It was Mark's. I knew that instantly. He wasn't the type to set up security cameras, not inside the house. And even if he was, why wouldn't he tell me? Panic clawed at my chest. I glanced back at him, still asleep, still unaware of what I had just found. My mind raced. Who put this here? How long had it been recording? And more importantly, what had it seen? I clutched the device in my hand, my pulse hammering. There was only one way to find out. I had to watch. My hands shook as I slipped out of the bedroom, clutching the tiny device like it was a ticking bomb. I padded down the hallway, every shadow suddenly feeling too deep, too full of eyes. In the kitchen, I plugged it into my laptop, my breath coming too fast. A single folder appeared on the screen. No name, no date, just a list of videos. My fingers hovered over the trackpad, a sinking feeling curling in my stomach. The most recent file was timestamped 2 days ago. I clicked it.
By the way, if you're curious about what happened next, subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Thank you.
Screen flickered, and there it was, our bedroom. The same angle I had seen moments ago. The camera had been watching for days, weeks maybe. My breath caught as I saw myself on the screen, walking into the room, pulling off my sweater, completely unaware. And then him, not Mark, him, my chest tight. I watched as I stepped toward the bed, my lover's hands sliding over my waist. I already knew what came next. I slammed the laptop shut, bile rising in my throat. Someone had been watching, recording. Keeping proof, I gripped the counter, my legs unsteady. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't some random security measure. This was a trap. Someone wanted me to know they had seen everything. Someone wanted me to panic, and it was working. I forced myself to breathe, think. Who had access to my house? The cleaning service? A neighbor? Someone who had been inside recently? My mind raced, trying to remember anything unusual, anything that felt off. But the truth was worse than I wanted to admit. Whoever had done this had been close enough to set it up. They had known exactly what they were looking for. A notification buzzed on my phone. My heart jumped as I reached for it. A new message. No name, no number, just 3 words. Did you enjoy? My breath hitched as I stared at the message. My fingers trembled over the screen, debating whether to reply, delete it, or throw my phone across the room. Who was this? How long had they been watching? And what did they want? I forced myself to think, to push past the panic clawing at my chest. If someone had wanted to expose me, they already would have. If they wanted money, they would have asked. Instead, they were playing a game, one I didn't understand yet. A new message appeared before I could react. Don't ignore me. I swallowed hard. My first instinct was to wake Mark, confess everything, beg for his help. But I couldn't, not yet. If I told him now, I wouldn't be able to control how this played out. I needed time. I needed answers. I typed, my fingers unsteady. Who is this? What do you want? 3 dots appeared, then vanished. Then another message. You already know. A cold shiver ran down my spine. My mind raced through possibilities. Was it my lover? No, he was too careful, too paranoid to pull something like this. Someone at the hotel? Unlikely. Then someone closer, a neighbor, a friend, someone I saw every day but never truly noticed. My stomach churned. I needed to get ahead of this before it spiraled out of control. If I was being watched, I had to assume they were tracking everything, my movements, my calls, my texts. That meant no digital footprint, no mistakes. I deleted the messages, powered off my phone, and pulled the camera's memory card from my laptop. There was only one person I could go to, someone who knew how to make things disappear, someone I never wanted to involve in my life again. But I had no choice. I grabbed my coat and keys, glancing once more at Mark's sleeping form. Then I slipped out into the night, praying I wasn't already too late. The drive felt endless, the silence inside the car pressing down on me. Every passing shadow made me grip the wheel tighter. Every pair of headlights behind me felt like a threat. I forced myself to breathe. I had to keep it together. I pulled up outside a rundown bar on the edge of town, a place I hadn't been in years. The neon sign flickered, casting eerie flashes of red and blue across the cracked pavement. I killed the engine and hesitated. This was a mistake. I knew it the second I got here. But I had already made too many mistakes to turn back now. Inside, the stale scent of beer and cigarette smoke clung to the air. The place was nearly empty, save for a few regulars slumped over their drinks, and then I saw him. He sat in the corner, nursing a whiskey, his dark eyes tracking me before I even reached the table. "Didn't think I'd see you again," he muttered, swirling the ice in his glass. "And yet, here you are, looking desperate." I slid into the seat across from him, my hands tightening into fists on my lap. I need your help. He smirked, taking a slow sip. That's a dangerous thing to say to a guy like me. I exhaled sharply. I don't have time for games. Someone's watching me, recording me, and they know everything. His expression didn't change, but I saw the flicker of interest in his eyes. Everything? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. He let out a low whistle and leaned back. Damn. And here I thought you were just another bored housewife looking for trouble. Can you help me or not? My voice came out sharper than I intended. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Depends, you just want to know who's behind it, or do you want it to go away? I hesitated. That was the real question, wasn't it? Did I just want the truth, or was I willing to do whatever it took to bury it? I met his gaze, steady despite the storm inside me. I want both. He grinned, finishing his drink in one swallow. Then you came to the right place. I leaned forward, lowering my voice. How soon can you find out who it is? He smirked, tapping his fingers against the table. Depends on how deep they're buried. Someone watching you that closely isn't just some creep with a camera. They're careful, which means I need time and money. I exhaled sharply. How much? For answers, $5,000. For making it disappear, we'll negotiate. I clenched my jaw. I didn't have that kind of money lying around, and withdrawing a large sum would raise questions. Half now, half when you find something. He gave a lazy shrug. Fine, but don't make me chase you for the rest. I don't like being stiffed. You'll get it, just tell me where to start. He leaned in, his expression darkening. First thing, don't respond to them. Whoever they are, they're waiting for a reaction. You panic, they'll push harder. Second, don't touch your laptop. Don't make any sudden changes. They might be in your system already. Keep your routine normal until I tell you otherwise. The thought sent a chill through me. I had been so focused on the camera that I hadn't even considered the possibility of my phone, my accounts, my entire life being an open book to them. And what do you do in the meantime? He smirked. I do what I do best, find people who don't want to be found. I slid a crumpled envelope of cash across the table. That's all I have on me. You'll get the rest. Just don't drag this out. He tucked the money into his pocket without looking. I'll be in touch. And one more thing, if you feel like you're being followed, you probably are. Don't go anywhere alone. The words settled deep in my bones. I had walked into this place looking for a way out, but all I had done was step further in. I stood, forcing my legs to stay steady as I walked toward the door, every instinct screaming that someone was watching, waiting for me to make my next move. I drove home with my hands locked tight around the steering wheel, my eyes flicking to the rearview mirror every few seconds. The city lights blurred past, but I barely noticed them. His words echoed in my head. If you feel like you're being followed, you probably are. By the time I pulled into the driveway, my stomach was a knot of tension. The house was dark except for the faint glow from the living room window. Mark was still up. I took a deep breath, trying to shake off the paranoia before stepping inside. Looked up from the couch, his face half lit by the TV screen. You're out late, everything okay? I forced a smile. Yeah, just couldn't sleep. Took a drive to clear my head. He nodded, but I could feel his eyes on me as I walked past. I could never tell if he suspected anything or if I was just projecting my own guilt onto him. Either way, I had bigger problems now. Upstairs, I locked the bedroom door behind me and pulled the camera from my bag, staring at it like it might come to life. The weight of it felt heavier than before, as if it carried all my mistakes inside. I knew I couldn't destroy it. Not yet, not until I knew who had put it there. A vibration from my phone made my breath hitch. I grabbed it, heart hammering as I read the new message. That was a mistake. I swallowed hard, no number, no name, just those 4 words. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, but I didn't reply. I couldn't. Instead, I powered the phone off and set it down, but the feeling of being watched didn't leave me. I barely slept. Every creak of the house made my skin prickle. Every shift of the shadows outside sent my heart racing. I kept expecting to hear footsteps, to see movement through the window, but nothing came. By morning, my mind was made up. I wasn't going to wait for the next message, the next threat. I had played defense long enough. Now it was my turn to make a move. And I knew exactly where to start. I spent the morning going through everything I could think of: old emails, phone records, bank statements, searching for any sign that someone had been watching me for longer than I realized. But there was nothing. Whoever was behind this was careful, deliberate, and that terrified me more than anything. I needed help, real help, the kind that didn't ask questions. There was only one other person I trusted to keep their mouth shut. I grabbed my phone, hesitated for a second, then dialed. I was wondering when you call, the voice on the other end drawled. This about the mess you're in? Can you meet? I asked, ignoring the smug tone. Same place as last time, 30 minutes. I didn't waste time. I left the house before Mark could ask where I was going, my nerves stretched thin. The drive was a blur, my mind racing through every worst-case scenario. When I arrived, he was already waiting, leaning against his car with the same amused expression he always had. You look like hell, he said as I walked up. Trouble in paradise. I didn't rise to the bait. Someone's watching me, recording me, they know everything. His smirk faded. How much is everything? Enough that they could ruin me, but they haven't, yet they're playing a game. I need to know who. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. All right, but if we do this, we do it my way, no second guessing, no backing out. You ready for that? I was, not even close, but I nodded anyway. Find them. He pulled out his phone, typing something before looking up. Then let's start with the message you got, because whoever sent it, they're not just watching, they want you to know they're watching. And that means they want something. We just have to figure out what before it's too late. He scrolled through his phone, his brow furrowing. First things first, whoever sent that message, they didn't use a normal number. It's a burner, probably rerouted through different servers. Not impossible to trace, but not easy either. My stomach tight. So they know what they're doing. Looks that way, he muttered, tapping the screen. But nobody covers their tracks perfectly. There's always something. I watched as he worked, his fingers moving fast, his expression locked in concentration. Minutes passed in silence, my nerves stretching thinner with each second. Then suddenly he stopped. His mouth pulled into a thin line. What did you find? He turned the screen toward me. It was an address, local, too local. This is 3 blocks from your house. Whoever's been watching you, they're close, real close. A chill ran through me. That can't be right, no one around there. I stopped myself. I didn't know that for sure. Who really paid attention to their neighbors? Who really knew what went on behind their doors? He pocketed his phone. We go there now. I hesitated. What if they're expecting that? What if this is a trap? He smirked. Then we spring it before they do. Every instinct told me to run in the opposite direction, to pretend none of this was happening. But I had already come too far to turn back. Whoever this was, they had been watching me for a long time. They were patient, calculating. And they were close enough to feel like a ghost breathing down my neck. I nodded. Let's go. The drive took less than 5 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. When we pulled up to the house, it was just another ordinary home, small, quiet, unassuming. A single car sat in the driveway. Lights were on inside. Someone was home. We do this my way, he said, voice low. No rushing in, no panic. We watch first, see what we're dealing with. I swallowed hard and gripped the door handle. And if they see us? He looked at me, his expression unreadable. Then we get our answers the hard way. We sat in the car, watching the house in tense silence. The curtains were drawn, but a faint glow from the living room flickered through the fabric. A shadow moved behind them. Someone was definitely home. He exhaled slowly. We wait, see if they come out. If not, we knock. My hands clenched into fists on my lap. And if they don't answer, he glanced at me, his expression unreadable. Then we find another way in. The minutes stretched. Every passing second felt heavier than the last. Just as I was about to suggest we go, the front door creaked open. A man stepped onto the porch, phone pressed to his ear. My breath hitched. I couldn't make out his features from this distance, but he was older, maybe late 40s, early 50s. His posture was relaxed, but something about the way he glanced around made my skin crawl. He wasn't just making a call, he was checking his surroundings. That's him, isn't it? I whispered. He nodded. Matches the description. Watched as the man paced, speaking low into his phone. Then suddenly he turned, staring directly at our car. My stomach dropped. Drive, he ordered. Now. I didn't hesitate. I threw the car into reverse, tires screeching against the pavement as we pulled away. My heart pounded so hard I could barely hear myself think. He saw us, I breathed. He knew we were there. He was expecting us, he corrected, his jaw tight. And now he knows you're coming for him. I gripped the wheel, my knuckles white. What do we do now? He stared straight ahead, eyes dark with determination. Now, we make sure he doesn't see us coming next time.
Thank you for watching the video. If you want to hear more stories, subscribe to the channel and like the video. Videos are released every day. Good luck to everyone.